There are two birds that has followed humanity for thousands of years, and it's the dove and the raven. One of them became the symbol for peace, purity, and the holy itself. Meanwhile, the other became associated with death, the battlefield, and the dark omens. Both birds belong in the same natural world. They are both creatures of Earth itself. So why did civilizations come to see them so differently? And what does that reveal about us, humans? In the biblical world and the Abrahamic beliefs, the dove became a symbol of innocence and peace. We see it clearly in the story of Noah. After the flood, Noah sends out a dove, and it returns carrying an olive leaf or an olive branch, a sign that life is returning. Quite animistic message, if you ask me. But that's a story for another video. And later in Christianity, the Holy Spirit is described as descending like a dove. So it's very telling of how the dove is perceived right there. The dove became associated to purity, with peace as something untouched and untouched by death and corruption, if you will. Meanwhile, birds like ravens are viewed differently. Why is that? Because ravens feed on carrion. They move between the edges of life and death itself. And in the biblical world, maintaining boundaries between pure and impure was deeply important. The ravens crossed those boundaries way too easily. And in the northern world, people saw the ravens very differently compared to the Christian world. The north was not a soft world. It was long winters. It was dark forests and hunger, war and hardship. Nature was very beautiful, but it was also very harsh and unforgiving. And ravens were masters of survival of that world. They not only survived, but they thrived because they moved between the edges of the living and the dead. And the Old Norse people noticed how intelligent the ravens actually are. They were watchful and they remembered things. And that is likely why Odin was accompanied by two ravens, Huginn and Muninn, thought and memory. And if you haven't watched my video about Huginn and Muninn, I strongly suggest you do after watching this one. But every day they traveled across the world to return with knowledge, not with innocence, with knowledge. And I think that difference matters quite a lot here, actually. And maybe this fact reflects the different ways of seeing existence itself. Because the dove could be seen as representing transcendence, purity and peace, or the ambition to rise above suffering and corruption. The raven, on the other hand, represents awareness, the willingness to face reality directly, even when reality itself is very harsh and dire. Facts like winter, death, conflict, and decay, because these things are not good, but they are very real and a part of life. And the old northern world, there's a misconception. They did not worship the dark, but they did not look away from the dark because it was a part of life. That distinction is very important, I think, in order to understand the worldview of the purity of the dove and the dark void that the raven sometimes manifests as. And if we look in modern times, I think this tension still exists today, in a sense. Modern society often prefers the symbolism of the dove because it represents, in a way, comfort and safety, softness, if you will. But nature itself is not only a dove, if we use the framework that I just presented. Nature is also the raven. Forests themselves, they grow from decay. That's where they draw their vaki, their life spirit, from. And every civilization survives through sacrifice, whether or not they like to admit it. Somewhere along the lines, something needs to die for something else to thrive from a, metaphysical standpoint. And I think the raven reminds us of this very fact. I do actually believe that is quite an important factor into why some people still, until this day, find ravens unsettling. Not because they are evil necessarily, but because they force us to remember things modern lives try to hide, in a sense, or our mortality, actually. The endless cycles of nature and the harder side of existence itself. And if we look today, the dove is something that we can find comfort in, the transcendent thing when you have passed the barriers of suffering in life, etc. Meanwhile, the raven is watching us. One of these two symbolizes innocence, and the other one symbolizes awareness of life itself. And perhaps the northern older cultures understood something important here. Wisdom does not only come from light. Sometimes it comes from having the courage to face reality itself, even when reality is really dark. It reminds me of the saying that if you stare for long enough into the abyss will slowly start to look back at you. So that's my take on the dove and the raven. Hope you enjoyed it. And please consider leaving a comment or a like on the video. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you really like what I do here, consider becoming a channel member. That is also greatly appreciated. Okay, folks, have a lovely day. And as usual, Tyrdom out.